I want to talk about the 2023 wildfire season, or lack thereof at this point, and I want to talk about the potential fire forecast for the remainder of the season.
Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
So let's get into talking about the 2023 wildfire season so far here in the U.S. In the southern area of the region, wildfire activity has actually decreased. The southwest area has continued with below normal fire activity for the month of May and leading up into June. Alaska did have its first large fire of the season.
You do? You have? No kidding. Uh-huh. Well, just give me the address. Yes, of course. Oh, they'll be totally discreet. Thank you. We got one!
And they've also had multiple rangeland fires. What's kind of crazy is, year to date, the U.S. is at 51% of its 10-year average for areas burned, with a below average number of fires. And what is going on up in Canada? They are just out of control.
Hey there.
How you doing?
Good. You boys here for business or pleasure?
Just going fishing.
Good time, and you'll be up to your tits in the walleye.
The latest data from the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center shows that as of June 6th, there were 437 active fires going on in Canada. 248 of those listed as out of control. And so far for this year, just in Canada, they've had 2,355 fires. That's covered 4.2 hectares, or for us US folk, 10 million acres.
Oh, cool. It's cool, all right. Average winter temperature is minus 18 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, all you have to do to convert is times 2, add 32, and join the rest of the human race.
The wildfire season there is obviously out of control. They have maps from the Canadian Wildland Fire Information Service show fires stretching across Ontario and Quebec in the east, with 150 fires in Quebec alone. But understand, there's another cluster of intense fires in the west, in Alberta, in particular, British Columbia. And Canada's Donny Creek fire, the authorities are saying that's the second largest in Canadian history. According to the Canadian authorities, they're saying that they are on record for their worst wildfire season ever. Canada's track record, usually by this time in June, they're at about 1,700 fires. As of right now, leading up to June, there are 2,133 fires, so obviously well above their normal. So as I said, the year-to-date acres burned and just number of fires in general is well below normal. Above normal cool season precipitation, a lack of heat waves all across the U.S., constant moisture, and an increased snowpack has helped slow the fuel curing all across Southern California, the Southwest, and the Southern Great Basin. As far as Florida and New England goes, again, the increased moisture and just constant rainfall has virtually shut any fire activity down. Now, one area that I am paying attention to is the northern tier of the West. They have had well above normal temperatures, which is accelerating their snowmelt and their fuel curing. As far as the U.S. drought situation goes here, we're doing pretty well. The Drought Severity Coverage Index is at 74, and that's on a scale of 0 to 500, so we're way down low on that. It's actually the lowest value we've been since June of 2020. And that's down from a 10-year peak of 202 back in November of 2022. And it's kind of crazy because as of right now, the country as a whole, 59% has no drought whatsoever, and less than 20% of the country has moderate to extreme drought. So if we're looking at things and trying to keep things, focused on the future, higher elevations in the southern Great Basin, through the mountains of Utah and much of the Southwest, west of the Continental Divide, they're likely to have no potential significant fires for the month of June, and July is going to be starting off to a slow start as well. But they're trying to base the fire forecast for those areas are on what the monsoon season brings and how much rain they get out of that. As far as Alaska goes, you guys are looking at slightly above normal significant fire potential for portions of the interior and south central for the remainder of June and July. And then it's expected to go back to typical behavior in August and September. No areas of Alaska are in a drought status due to the big significant snowpack you guys have had that hasn't really had a chance to melt yet. And one of the big things was rainfall in May was particularly heavy over the southern tier of Alaska. So Alaska's wildfire season has been remarkably quiet. So we talked about that monsoon occurring. It's not to say we're out of the woods yet though. The North American monsoon is expected to be weaker than it has been the last 2 summers. Therefore, weaker, less moist intrusions are anticipated from that source region. However, Tropical cyclone activity in the Pacific is expected to be more robust and could lead to periods of heightened lightning strikes. So that could put us in business. They're also saying that August is likely to be the favored lightning month, as opposed to usually the peak season being in July. Also talking about Northern Cal, the critical flammable alignments in the live and dead fuels are not likely to occur for an extended period across larger portions of the North Ops until possibly August or September. Therefore, the fire season should start out slower than normal, with transitional green up near or above normal shrub moisture and an abundant snowpack providing resistance barriers for significant fire spread across the large portions of North Ops during June and July. As far as the Southwest goes, below normal to normal significant fire potential is anticipated for most of the geographic area for the summer. Areas of above normal significant fire potential will likely be rather short-lived and localized overall. However, they could arise for periods in areas where fine fuel loading and continuity are significant and are combined with above normal temperatures and a prolonged period of dryness. Areas of below normal significant fire potential are anticipated across portions of the southwest area in June. Overall trend for much of the late fall through spring has been cooler than normal temperatures and above normal precipitation focused along the west of the Continental Divide. Drier and milder conditions generally focused along the east of the New Mexico central mountain chain. This pattern has changed some over the last month or so, but the ramifications from the persistent previous weather pattern will continue to shape the significant fire potential forecast through summer, as does the evolving El Nino. Last summer's above normal monsoon contributed to an abundance of fine fuel buildup across many areas. Despite an unusually moist May for portions of the geographic area and a continuation of near to slightly below normal temperatures into June focused along the west of the divide, these dead fuels will be available to burn. In the Rocky Mountain area,
Yeah, we're in the Rockies.
historically fire activity during this period shifts into higher elevations of Colorado and Wyoming along the Black Hills. The high elevations of Colorado and Wyoming benefited from strong snowpack for most of the winter and spring, and year-over-year drought conditions show significant improvement. Near normal significant fire potential is forecast across the majority of the eastern area, June into September. Above normal fire potential is expected across the northern and eastern tiers of the Great Lakes in June, and across much of the northern tier of the eastern area, July and August. Above normal significant fire potential is forecast over the northern tier of the Great Lakes and all of Michigan for June. Large surface fuels, i.e. your 100-hour or 1,000-hour fuels, currently have significantly below average fuel moistures and are trending towards historical lows for this time of year. The amount of consumption for these large fuels reported on fires and prescribed burns is not typical for the beginning of summer. The northern interior of the Northeast has had similar trends to the Great Lakes states, but recent precipitation events have alleviated conditions for now. Outlooks show chances of above normal temperatures for this area in June, July, and August. In the absence of normal precipitation through the summer, above normal significant fire potential is forecast in July and August. Into the southern area, widespread drought relief has been the main weather story across southern area during May, with the U.S. Drought Monitor showing 2 to 3 category improvements across large parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, and Virginia. Longer-term drought that led to some volatile fuels along the East Coast earlier this spring is all but gone after low pressure produced widespread heavy rain in the Carolinas during the last week of May. Some dryness lingers along the Gulf Coast, including the far western Florida peninsula, where severe to extreme drought is still in place as of May 23rd. With El Nino a near certainty this summer, confidence is increasing in a normal significant fire potential throughout the southern area from June through September. So considering all of the current and anticipated fire environment conditions, the significant fire potential is expected to be below normal for June and July and normal for August and September. When recording this, I mentioned 100-hour and 1,000-hour fuels. If you don't know what that's in reference to, it's about fuel moisture. So when the fuel moisture content is less than 30%, that fuel is essentially considered to be dead. Dead fuels respond solely to current environmental conditions and are critical in determining fire potential. The dead fuel moisture threshold, 10-hour, 100-hour, or 1,000-hour, called a time lag, is based upon how long it would take for 2/3 of the dead fuel to respond to atmospheric moisture. Small fuels, which are less than a 1/4 inch diameter, such as grass, leaves, and mulch, respond more quickly to changes in the atmospheric moisture content and take 10 hours to adjust to moist/dry conditions. Larger fuels lose or gain moisture less rapidly through time. Fuels that are 3 inches to 8 inches in diameter, such as dead fallen trees and brush piles, can take up to 1,000 hours to adjust to the moist conditions and are represented by the 1,000-hour dead fuel moisture index. 1,000+ hour fuels do not burn easily, but if they do burn, they will generate extreme heat, often causing dangerous fire behavior conditions.